Yo, 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 it's Cinderella Sew. What up? Today we're going to sew the bottom of a plaid shirt to the bottom of a t-shirt. You just want to make sure that your plaid shirt is the same width or wider than the shirt you're going to be sewing it onto. So the first thing you're going to do is lay out your plaid shirt nice and smooth, and you can even do up one of the buttons and just make sure the bottom parts meet. So I'm just using one of the lines as guidance. Start cutting through both layers of the plaid shirt. Cut all the way to the middle and then stop. You can cut through this thick part here where the buttons are. Fold this across, and this will show you where to cut across. We're just gonna start sewing on each side of the plaid piece in the shirt. So I have my shirt inside out, so I'm sewing from the wrong sides. And I'm just gonna line up the two side seams, the side seam of the shirt and the side of the plaid shirt. I'm just gonna start sewing them together, matching up those seams. I'll just put my needle through both pieces of fabric, pull it almost all the way through, and then go back through the same holes again. And before that loop of thread closes, I'm just gonna put my needle through the loop, pull it tight, and do that a couple times. So we're gonna do a couple knots on either side. So now we're at the other side seam of the shirt, and we're gonna put that plaid piece on top, and we'll just do a couple knots here to stitch that in place. So now we have both side seams sewn in place. So just stretch out the back of the shirt and stretch out the back of the plaid piece, and you can see how much extra fabric you're going to need to cut off. Just take your scissors, cut straight up, and leave a little bit of extra fabric, but not a lot. Just like that. And you can do the same thing at the front of the shirt. And at the front of the shirt, I'm going to use one of these flaps to cover the gap. So you can just cut off one of the flaps, but not the other. Just like that. So now we're going to keep sewing the plaid piece onto the shirt until we get to the center back, where that slit we made is. And we're just gonna use a basic running stitch. So just take your needle and go down and up through both pieces of fabric, the plaid shirt and the black shirt, and then pull through. And we can always do a back stitch whenever we want, which means you just take a step back and come out through the same hole you already came out. When I say the same hole, I mean as close to the same hole as possible. Just go down and up, down and up, and then you can pull your needle through and then do a back stitch. And we're always going to leave about a finger width from this bottom seam here to make sure we're sewing it on straight. When you get to the end of your plaid piece, that means the other part of the plaid piece is going to come and be sewn in place here. Sew another back stitch on your first plaid piece, sewing it in place. And now we're just going to sew the plaid parts together. So just pinch them together and then put your needle through both pieces. Make a knot by making a loop and putting your needle through the loop and pulling it closed. And now just sew them together. Down, up, down, up, pull through. When you run out of thread, you just do a back stitch, cut your thread off, rethread your needle, and then when you start sewing, do another back stitch on top of the last one. And now we're just gonna sew the rest of the plaid onto the back of the shirt. Now we're moving to the front of the shirt, and the first part you wanna do is the part that you did not cut. So sew that down first. So just start at the side seam you've already sewn down, make a knot, and then you can start sewing. So we're gonna sew this plaid piece all the way down. Just doing a couple back stitches and some knots, and then you can cut your thread off. So now we're sewing the last front piece down. So while you sew it, you can just lie it on top of the fabric at the back and make sure you're sewing it at the same length so that it hangs down the same amount. We just are gonna fold this front flap over the one we've already sewn down and just finish sewing it onto the black shirt. And this is where you can use a thimble on your finger to help push the needle through. So you can cut your thread off. When you flip it right side out, you'll see the plaid's been sewn in place all along the bottom, and it should be nice and even. And this is what it looks like when you're all done. Thank you so much for watching Cinderella Sew, and I'll see you soon. Peace.